I'm 108 years old, and I can still walk to the market every morning without help. My name is Dorothy Chin, and people always ask me the same thing when they see me buying groceries. What's your secret? I tell them it's not a secret at all. It's just 7 foods I've eaten almost every day for the past 80 years, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they are and why they've kept me alive when everyone I grew up with is gone. When I was 28 years old, I got very sick. This was 1944, and we didn't have the medicines you have now. I had something wrong with my stomach that the doctors couldn't fix, and I was losing weight so fast that my husband Thomas started sleeping in a chair next to our bed because he was afraid I wouldn't wake up. I remember lying there one afternoon, so weak I could barely lift my head, and my mother came to visit. She didn't bring flowers or soup. She brought a small wooden box with 7 things inside, and she sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Dorothy, your grandmother ate these 7 foods every single day of her life, and she lived to be 104 years old, and her mother before her lived to 102. This is not about doctors anymore. This is about what we put in our bodies." The first food she showed me was fermented cabbage, not the kind you buy in a jar at the store now with all the vinegar and sugar, but real fermented cabbage that she made herself in a crock in the basement. She said the bacteria in that cabbage would heal my stomach better than any pill, and I didn't believe her because it smelled terrible and tasted sour, but I was desperate, so I ate a forkful every morning. Within 2 weeks, I could keep food down again. Within a month, I'd gained back 5 pounds. My doctor said it was a miracle, but my mother just smiled and said, "No, it's cabbage." The second food was bone broth. My mother had been making it since I was a child, boiling chicken bones and vegetables for hours until the broth was thick and golden, and I always thought it was just soup. But she explained that the minerals from those bones, the collagen and the gelatin, that's what kept our joints strong and our skin from sagging. She said her mother used to say that you could tell who drank bone broth and who didn't just by looking at their hands, and it's true. I'm 108 and I don't have arthritis. My hands don't shake. I can still sew and write letters, and it's because I've had a cup of bone broth almost every single day since I was 28. The third food was wild salmon. Now, we lived in Seattle, so salmon wasn't hard to come by, but my mother was very particular about it. It had to be wild, not farmed, because she said the fish that swim upstream and fight for their lives have something in their flesh that makes you strong. I didn't understand the science then, but now I know she was talking about omega-3 fatty acids. I ate salmon twice a week for 80 years, and my heart is still beating steady. My doctor told me last year that I have the cardiovascular system of a 70-year-old, and when he asked what I'd been doing, I just said eating fish. The fourth food was garlic. Raw garlic, chopped fine and mixed into everything. My mother said garlic was medicine disguised as food, that it cleaned your blood and kept sickness away, and I'll tell you something, I have not had a cold or flu in over 30 years, not once. People think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. I eat 2 cloves of raw garlic every day, sometimes in olive oil on bread, sometimes mixed into soup, and my immune system is stronger now than it was when I was 50. The fifth food was dark leafy greens, kale, collard, spinach, chard, whatever was growing in the garden. My mother made me eat a big portion every day, and I hated it at first because it was bitter. But she said bitterness is what cleans your liver, and your liver is what keeps you alive. She was right. I've never had problems with my liver or my kidneys, never had diabetes or high blood pressure, and I think it's because I've been eating greens every single day since I was a young woman. The sixth food was walnuts. A handful every afternoon, no more, no less. My mother said walnuts look like little brains for a reason, that they were meant to keep your mind sharp, and I don't know if that's scientifically true, but I'm 108 and I still remember everything. I remember my wedding day. I remember the names of all my students from when I taught 3rd grade in the 1950s. I remember the phone numbers we had when my children were small. My memory is clear, And I think those walnuts had something to do with it. The seventh food was blueberries, wild blueberries, the small ones that grow low to the ground, not the big cultivated ones you get at the supermarket now. My mother said those little berries were full of something that kept your cells young, and she picked them every summer and froze them so we'd have them all year. I've eaten blueberries almost every morning of my adult life, stirred into oatmeal or just by the handful, and people always comment on how clear my skin is, how bright my eyes are. I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you what happened. After my mother gave me those 7 foods and I started eating them every day, I got well. Not slowly, but quickly, like my body had been waiting for the right fuel and finally got it. Thomas said it was like watching me come back to life, and in a way I did. I went on to have 3 children, and I raised them on the same 7 foods. I taught school for 35 years. I buried my husband when I was 89, and that nearly broke me. But my body stayed strong even when my heart was shattered. I've outlived most of my friends, all of my siblings, even one of my children, and that's a grief I wouldn't wish on anyone. But through it all, my health has held. People today are always looking for the complicated answer. They want supplements and superfoods with names they can't pronounce. They want expensive treatments and special diets, but I'm telling you, it's simpler than that. It's fermented cabbage and bone broth and wild salmon and raw garlic and dark greens and walnuts and blueberries. 7 foods, nothing fancy, nothing you can't find or make yourself. My mother knew this and her mother knew it, and now I'm telling you because I'm 108 years old and I'm still here, still walking, still thinking, still living. And these 7 foods are why. I don't know how much longer I have. Could be a year, could be 5, could be tomorrow. But I do know that every morning when I wake up and my body doesn't hurt and my mind is clear, I think about my mother sitting on the edge of my bed in 1944 with that wooden box, and I think about how close I came to not believing her. If I'd ignored what she told me, if I just kept eating whatever was easy or convenient, I don't think I'd be here. I really don't. And that's not me being dramatic. That's just the truth as I've lived it. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering whether it's worth it to change what you eat, to buy the real food instead of the processed stuff, to take the time to make bone broth or ferment cabbage or buy wild salmon instead of farmed, I'm telling you, it is. Not because I read it in a book or saw it on the internet, but because I'm 108 years old and I'm still alive. And these 7 foods are the reason why. You don't have to believe me, but I hope you do. Because I'd like to think that maybe 80 years from now, you'll be sitting somewhere telling someone the same thing I'm telling you right now.